What is going on? So in this video, we're going to go over how I think I made about 27.8 AUD, roughly about 20 grand, okay, for my day trading, 20 grand USD for my day trading in one day. The trades that I took, the runners that I let run, the strategies that I use, and $30,000 that I took out of my trading account because of that. We'll go over each and every single one trade. Like, I have everything loaded right here. We'll go over each and every single trade, the mistakes I made, the trades that didn't work, the trades that worked, and what we did good, what we didn't do good, and everything in this video, okay? This video might be a little bit longer than my usual videos, but hey, this will be total sauce. Right? You love it. First things first, on SPY. Now, the first trade that I took was on SPY was puts. Now, what I basically saw here was, like, by the way, if you do not know, for first, like, this is the time frames that I watch, okay? First 30 minutes of the market open, that means from 9:30 to 10 Eastern time, I'm watching 2-minute chart, okay? From 10 Eastern time to 11 Eastern time, I'm watching 5-minute chart. And then 11 Eastern time to 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm watching 10-minute chart, okay? 10-minute chart. And then 3 to 4, I do not trade. This is my no trading time, because it's too hard to trade, especially when the smart money is in control. Smart money, like, I don't know if you have ever heard, dumb money does the market open, smart money does the market close. This is how the game works, and there's no point of trying to reinvent the whole game, but this is how the game works. As long as we know it, I do not trade the last one out. Like, doesn't matter, 3 o'clock, doesn't matter if I'm in a position, I gotta sell and I walk away. Okay, this is the stuff. Make sure you take a screenshot of this. Anyway, so basically that means from 9:30 to 10 o'clock, I'm trading 2-minute charts. So this is a trade that I took roughly about 9:38, which basically means I'm on a 2-minute chart, which is right here, 2-minute chart. So what was I watching? What was I thinking? So my thought process here was that we were in a little bit of an uptrend right here. Look at this. What's basically happening here is we are forming, this is a low, right? Then we made a higher low. Then we made another higher low, and made another higher low, and we went. So this is a trend. This is an uptrend, right? But when the market opened, it went down. It broke below the previous low right here. Okay, that means it broke below. That means it could be a downtrend starting out. Now, why? Maybe that doesn't actually mean a downtrend starting out. Maybe it just means the uptrend is no longer valid. All right. But to me, because of such a huge candle that went from 973.7 to all the way down to 973.02, which is like 70-cent move within 2 minutes, I'm like, you know what? Some sellers are interested. Clearly, they were not able to hold, the buyers were not able to hold the trend. If the trend would have been holding, the trend usually looks like this. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. But what happened here was we broke below the previous high low and it made a huge candle like this. Like, you see this? So I was like, all right, you know what? Clearly the downtrend might be picking up, so I want to take a trade. But I am a sort of trader who do not like, I'm a trader, I do not like zero. I do not like to trade when the stock has already made a big move. I want to wait for a pullback. Now, when it started making a little pullback right here, this is the candle that I really liked. I was like, oh my God, this looks really, really clean, because it made a huge move. After such a huge move, went back to try to retest this around this area, because in the pre-market we were holding, yesterday we were holding this area very, very, very nicely. Look at this. Pay close attention to this. We were holding this area very nicely yesterday as well, which is Friday. So I was like, you know what? This actually looks decent. Let me jump into a trade. And I jumped into a trade the moment we broke below the previous candle right here, 930. I think my entry was 930.1-ish. But anyway, I took the trade. I was in puts, and this is how the trade went. I was in puts. I was expecting it to get down to low of the day and then potentially down to pre-market low, which would kind of give me, not the best risk to reward. That's why I was in a small position size, but that will kind of give me initial risk to reward is this. So I'm risking about 35 cents to make 15 cents. Not very good. But when I looked at the pre-market low, I'm like, you know what? It still looks decent. I'm risking 34 cents to potentially make 40. Let's give it a shot. Okay. So what happened here was I'm in a trade now. My stop loss is roughly above this candle right here, the pullback candle, and it made a move. It went down. But silly me didn't take profits. I kind of drew this little trend line. I'm like, you know what? A couple of times in the pre-market, then again here early morning, it's breaking out, so it can make a big move. I didn't take profits, and the reason why I didn't take profits is just because I was thinking maybe it's trying to break this flag. Because at one stage, I promise you, this candle looked bearish. Look at this. This candle at one stage looked bearish, all the way red, but then it bounced. I'm like, oh man, maybe I'm getting trapped. But regardless, my stop loss was right there. I'm not jumping out, right? It tried again. I'm like, okay, you know what? This looks not bad. It trying over and over again. If these buyers move aside, because clearly the stock's bouncing because of the buyers here, right? If these these buyers move aside, the stock gonna fall. This is what I was thinking. Now, I am betting that the buyers move aside or buyers get filled and the sellers take over. But what ended up happening was we played around a little bit. We started pushing towards the upside, and roughly around, I think this was the candle that I got out. Yeah, I got out maybe a little bit early. Should have actually stayed in now that I'm looking at it. My stop loss was roughly 493.53. I got out at 5.1. Okay, that's a mistake. You see what I'm saying? That's a mistake. Mistake number one. I should have stayed in the trade because the stop loss was never triggered. I got out right here. So clearly I made a mistake and I paid the price for this. Should have stayed in. Okay, that was the first trade. Keeping it real. The mistake that I made, should have stayed in the trade, especially because I knew that the trend is pretty much fading right now, so it can pick up. It might take a little bit of a while, but it can pick up. Okay, that's the first trade. I took a loss, but that was okay. Okay, the next trade that I took came on Amazon. That was about right here. This is what I was watching. Now, the reason why I took this trade again was after the earnings that we had last week, it made a huge move up. It literally went from 159 all the way up to 174. Then Friday was pretty chill day, nothing much. And then today we were trying to break this critical level on a 60-minute chart, which was like right here. Look at this, such a clean level. And at top of this level, we started forming a flag. Now, flag is one of the most simplest pattern. Like, it's such a simple pattern, right? People make it too tough. It was such a simple pattern. And I'm like, okay, if it breaks the flag, I'm jumping in. What happened the next candle? It try to literally break the flag, right? And I'm like, look, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, this looks freaking beautiful, right? I jumped into a trade. Now, did I make a mistake here? Should I not jumped into the trade? As long as I know my stop loss, there's literally nothing that can hurt me in the market, right? This is one saying that I always tell everybody. As long as I know my stop loss, there's nothing that can hurt me in the market. Now, what do we do here? I stayed in the trade. The stop loss is roughly around this area, 169.2-ish. I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me just stay in this trade. Okay. Nearly the stop loss hit. I think personally, hey, please don't quote me this. Hang on, let me double check. Let me double check. Okay. Yeah, I actually didn't make much money on this. I sold a little bit early. Oh my goodness. Here you go. Now I'm checking on it. Okay, keeping it real, fam. Not the fancy. It's not your fancy YouTube video that you want to watch. It's just keeping a super real YouTube video. Okay, I was in a little bit of size, but hey, would have loved holding the whole fucking position with big size. I sold roughly in this pullback a little bit. Yeah, got scared right around this pullback. I'm like, oh, what if it jumped? But yeah, that's the trade. Beautiful trade. I think I should have held this position for a little bit longer, or should have actually just stayed in the position, not take any like, I took a little bit of loss here. I held my rest of the position. I think I was just in a little bit big position size, and I didn't like the way this candle was going. And also 9:45, there was some news coming out because the PMI numbers were coming out 9:45, I believe. 1:45 right here. PMI numbers, 1:45 is American, 9:45. But anyway, this was the second trade. Okay, beautiful trade. Third trade came on SPY. Roughly where I took a loss right here. I should have stayed in. Now, there's a mistake I made on SPY early morning. There's a mistake I made on Amazon early morning. But SPY, I realized at the time that I'm making a mistake jumping out. So I decided to jump into the play once we break below this critical point one more time. I'm like, you know what? It still doesn't look bad. It hasn't hit the stop loss. And I was in a trade. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. Now, for this particular trade, my stop loss is bloody beautiful. I entered here. Stop loss is just above this pullback candle right here. Profit target could be right pre-market low, or could be the next hourly level. Okay, for now, let's say pre-market low, and this other trade went. I'm in the trade, no need to sell up until hit my stop loss. I'm not selling. Very, very close. There you go. Boom. Now, why did that happen? Now you might ask, why did that happen? A lot of buyers were coming in around this particular trend line. Buyers again. But once those buyers got filled, and then 10 o'clock, there was some news as well. Once those buyers got filled, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Such a huge volume, such a huge candle. And now it's 10 o'clock. Because it's 10 o'clock, I'm jumping on a 5-minute chart, right? And I'm like, man, this looks bloody beautiful. So what we do? I was in the trade. I caught this. Sometimes I literally look at myself and be like, man, I'm like, I can take some good freaking trades, all right? It was like just a beautiful setup. Such a huge move. Literally now, if you're looking at it, we risked about, let's say this, we risked about what, 40 cents to potentially make 250. That's 6 or 7 risk to reward. Insane. And you might be like, yeah, he's just saying it. He didn't actually catch it. I was calling it out in the real time. I'm like, betting that we let go of this flag right here. Then I'm like, okay, these are the trades moving forward that I was taking. I also was on voice as well. There it is. I was on voice. at the same time. And it was just me who made money. Everybody made money, by the way. It's 40% of the account, 3%, 7%. He said, thanks for the win. Biggest day with KCU, 180, 50% of the account, KCU on top. And then he made $1,000, 133, 134%. We all printed money, right? We all printed money, and there's no point me going over it again and again. All right, so this was the third trade. I realized my mistake on SPY early morning, and I wanted to just fix that mistake, and I stayed in the position, and we made a lot of money on this SPY, okay? This was probably my big trade. Contracts went from like, I think, $60 a contract to 240, 230, 240, basically 300-400% trade. It was an insane trade, right? Next trade came on Meta, okay? Now, Meta trade, again, this trade was taken on a 2-minute chart because while I was in SPY, I was also trading Meta at the same time. The reason why I was trading Meta is because, again, the trend picked up. So the trend setting up right here. Look at this. We made it lows, went like this, pull down, little pullback right here, and again a little pullback right here. Okay, what's happening? This is what I'm betting, that the last move right here will become the next leg down. This is what I was betting because the trend was very, very weak, right? So I'm like, man, this can make a nice fucking sexy move. Let's see, right? But there's a mistake that I made here. The mistake here was the volume was not picking up. The volume was not picking up, and it was just like, that it looked dry a little bit. Based on the volume, it looked a little bit dry. Not a lot, but just a little bit dry. Now, I should have just left it all alone because of this weird freaking candle, but hey, at the end of the day, I was just like, betting that we break this little flag on a 2-minute chart and we might end up going downside. This was what I was betting. Now, what happened? It broke. I'm like, all right, I'm in the trade. I'm in the trade now. It started bouncing. Now, my stop loss is literally just above this because I entered roughly here. My stop loss is holding above this particular candle. Not a wide stop loss because I'm expecting it to come down to 462. And then one candle happened. Boom. This particular candle got me stopped out. Now, the mistake here was these little freaking weird candles that are trying to make a new low. Look at these volume. The volume's dropping. That means the momentum is slowing down. What you want to see is momentum picking up. Like, look at these volumes are going up and up. Look at this. It broke volume, a lot of volume, more than the previous candle. Then even more volume on the next candle, even more volume on the next candle, even more kind of volume on the next candle. That's momentum. But here what's happening? Less volume, then again less volume, then again less volume, then again less volume. And then these buyers picked up and pushed the price a lot of volume. I'm like, this is it, done. I jumped out, stopped out. Not a wide stop loss, so didn't get hurt much. But we were making a lot of money on SPY, so didn't really care much. It didn't fuck my head. Okay. Then Tesla trade. Now around 10 o'clock, I was still in SPY at the time. I tried to do Meta, couldn't. Meta stopped me out just before 10 o'clock. But that's when Tesla, 10 o'clock, what I watch, 5-minute time frame. I'm on a 5-minute time frame, and I saw this happening. Now let me give you a little context. What's this white line? This white line on this particular day, look at this. This is the earnings. After the earnings day, one big move, this one big bounce, then again buyers came right at this level. That means a trend line is forming. Then again, one more time that we happened. This is last Friday, again a huge bounce, and now it kind of looks like it's happening again where the buyers are coming in. Look at the volume. I'm like, oh my god, the buyers might be coming in. But if we break this fucking particular line one more time, just one more time, I will try it. I will try for the puts. The reason, never has it broken this line that wide apart like this, couple cents off the line. Okay, this couple cents off the line, but this time, the original first time, it went a lot of times. Like, try to understand the psychology here. If you are a long-term trader, if you're like an investor, you are like, okay, this trend line is a solid trend line, let me jump in. So you jumped into your call position right here, right? But where did it bounce? It bounced roughly here. So you jumped into your long position, you bought some shares. If you are in a trade, where would you put your stop loss? That's the only question I have. If you are in this trade and you're going long, you're thinking the prices can bounce, where would you put your stop loss? If you are anything like a normal person, man, you're putting the stop loss right here. You're like, just in case if it goes below this lows or low of the day, I'm jumping out. So I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna give it a shot. The psychology here is all these people have their stop losses there. So what happens? When you go long on a trade, when you go buy shares and your stop loss gets hit, that means you jump out of a trade, right? That's why your stop loss gets hit. Now, when you jump out of a trade, your buy order comes into the market as a sell order. right? Even though you're not selling, you're just getting out of your position. That order comes in as a sell order. Now, when a lot of people sell orders getting triggered, what happens? That creates such a huge selling pressure right at that point, because everybody's stop losses are getting triggered at the same spot. And you know what happens? Stocks fail and they go heavy. This is what I was betting on. I'm like, hey, if it breaks, stocks can literally make a huge move. Now, where did I enter? I entered the moment it broke this particular trend line, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, the moment we broke below this 182.2, I jumped in. And when I say I jumped in, I genuinely mean it. This is where I said Tesla for puts below 182.2, I'm doing 180 puts. Okay, 182.2 is what I'm watching for 180 puts. This is what happened. It broke below, stop losses are getting triggered. Look at the volume picking up. Sweet, no reason to sell. Boom. It's just a huge level. Like in the past, whenever we broke this 182, we head down to 180. Like we broke 182, we head down to 180. I'm like, all right, do you want to get down to 180? I'm riding you, right? Boom. It went to 180, broke 180, had even more volume than the opening candle. The first 5-minute candle on the stock had even more volume than that. Now, you know what that's telling me? That's telling me a lot of sellers are getting scared. A lot of buyers are getting scared. A lot of sellers are jumping into this position. And I caught this move from right this point. Now, all these yellow lines on my chart, they are there for a reason. They are the hourly levels. I also made a YouTube video on this as well. So what happened? I'm in this trade. Boom. And I added more roughly here. But boom, 176 is what I think it can head to, right? I'm thinking it can head to 176. I'm thinking maybe, hey, if the trend picked up, maybe even can head to 175. And that's my mindset. I'm like, okay, this looks sweet. And then we started, oh my God, I hit 176 straight down. I'm loving it. I'm loving it at this point, right? I'm enjoying this because I'm making a lot of money at this point. I'm sure, like if you were in this trade, you will be making a lot of money as well. So hit this 176, then it came down. I was like, I was expecting they will bounce off this, but it went down 175. 175 is just a whole number, like 175. Such a whole number, more important than 176, right? So we caught a move from this 182 down to all the way to 175 with position size, with heavy position size. And I was still holding like half my position size still here. Then we started seeing a little bounce. And I'm like, you know what, man, at the same time, while this is happening, SPY was bouncing as well. So if you look at SPY, let's get rid of this. Let's jump on a 5-minute chart and I'll show you what was happening around that area on SPY. Look at this. This time, 1045. 1040, 1045 on Tesla, 1040, 1045. But SPY bounced such a huge bounce and SPY started pushing up. I'm like, you know what? I'm already up huge on this. I made a lot of money on this. You know what? I'm out. And I jumped out and my last position that I took off was roughly here, roughly around there. I was like, you know what? I'm all out. Like, no point. Caught a big move, bro. You know how much we were risking on this trade? We were only risking about 60 cents and we made, oh my God. We made $7.20 and we were only risking 60 cents. That's 11.6. Literally, every $1 you risked, you made $11 pretty much. Such a nice trade. And then we took AMD. Now AMD was weak again. Same thing. AMD's weak. AMD's below pre-market low. AMD's super weak. And I'm like, man, this looks good, especially at this candle. Actually, Chris in the chat, Chris in my chat, he called it out. He's like, watch AMD. Oh my God, it looks so clean. And I looked at AMD. I'm like, damn, this actually do look clean. And I was in Tesla trade already at the point. I'm like, this actually do look clean. So we jumped in the moment this particular low of this candle broke on the next candle. We jumped in and we made some decent cash on this as well. Now, how did we jump in? Why did we take a trade? The psychology here was very, very simple. The psychology here told me that, okay, if it's weak overall, it's not going to bounce just in the middle of nowhere, especially when SPY is going down. Like this time around 1025, SPY is in a downtrend as well. Like we are printing money on SPY at this point as well, right? Then we, at the same time, we are printing money on Tesla as well. At the same time, AMD. Now, my confidence is all the way up at this point, right? Because I'm making a lot of money. I'm up like 100 to 300% on every trade. My confidence is all the way up. So I jumped into this trade heavy, right? I was expecting that it head down to 172. This 173 first and then 172. Because this green candle had less volume relatively compared to the previous candle and the red candle had more volume. I'm like, man, this looks so clean. Boom. It hit down 172. And the moment the next candle started bouncing, this is what happened. The next candle started bouncing a little bit right here, 1045. SPY started bouncing 1045. Tesla started bouncing around that 1045. I'm like, you know what, let me just get out. And we got out right there. Now if you look at the risk to reward here, such an insane risk to reward again. We were basically risking about 66 cents to potentially make till 172, to potentially make $1.75. That's 2.6. That means every $1 that you risk, you're making $2.5 pretty much, right? Again, insane trade. And then the last trade came on SPY. Okay, I added more on my SPY. I was originally still holding my position from the morning, like a little bit position from the morning, and I added more, and we'll base that as an original trade again. Why? It's making a flag, kind of roughly making a flag, but still the trend, price action, the trend says it broke out of this trend line right here. It broke out of this trend line, move went. Now it's pulling back a little bit. It might pick up again. That's what I'm betting on, right? So where do I jump in? I jump in the moment it breaks the low of this particular candle on the next candle, the price action wise. Where's my stop loss? My stop loss is literally just above right here. That's my stop loss, right? Where's my profit target though? My profit target is the next hourly level that I have right here. So what am I risking? I'm risking 33 cents to make $1. That's like, I'm risking $1 to potentially make $3. That's pretty good, especially when you're making printing money on AMD, you're printing money on Tesla, you're printing money on SPY early morning trade, and now your trade is setting up again. You want to do some size. Boom, one big candle, such a huge candle. We printed on this candle. Like it was an easy trade and we made a lot of money on that, right? And it's just not me. And it actually went down for the next candle and then bounced 1045. Not just me again, everybody printed. And I was on live and this is all recorded, by the way. I have a Zoom recording of this. But such a nice day. This is all the trades where we took, how we managed those trades, how we took those trades, everything in detail. Now, was it the best trading day? Probably in a while. What do we learn here? The one thing that I learned here, last week was such a choppy week. I only made like $500-$700, right? But this week, just on Monday, I made more than 20 times, maybe even more, 40 times, 50, 60 times more what I made last whole week. Now that tells us on a bad trading week, when things are choppy, do not put your size up just because you want to make money. This is like you will never have a linear return in the market. All right. You could always wait and watch what's happening, the bigger picture, what's happening. And that's how you make money. All right. You got this. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you like this. Sorry, this is a little bit long video. Hope you enjoy this. I'll see you next one. Goodbye.